Many of you in our audience will recognize this young man, C.J. Thomason, who is from San Angelo formerly,
yes,
but has done so well on a long-running sort of mini-series.
it's a TV show.
TV show, Harper's
A one-series
Ferry.
TV. Harper's Island.
Harper's Island. He's teased me that I'm not a TV watcher.
It's okay, I'm not either.
But he is one that's still alive on that show of 11 weeks or something.
It's a 13-week show.
13-week show.
We just did the 10th episode.
CBS?
Yes.
CBS, all filmed in Vancouver.
Yes.
But what an incredible opportunity for you. Do you realize that yet?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
absolutely.
he grew up here, went through our schools. Which schools?
Crockett Elementary, Jungle, and Junior High, and Central High School.
And as soon as you graduated, you and your mother, who's back here teaching at Goliad, but she left with you and went to Los Angeles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Have you thanked her recently?
I try to thank her every day.
Way to go.
In some way or another, at least.
Way to go. Yeah. Because she sort of put her life a little bit on hold to invest in you.
Of course.
Is that right?
Yeah, it wouldn't be the only time she's put her life on hold for me. I mean, driving me to soccer practice or karate class or, I mean, just nonstop. My brother and I were doing things always. So, but, and then, we were doing theater in high school and...
Did you do one-act play?
Of course. Okay, funny enough, I answered that question. I never did a one-act play at Central High School. No. For whatever reason, I never booked the show or I couldn't do it. But my brother did the one-act play. He did The King and I, which got second place at state under the directing of Miss Watts and Kelly Russell, who Kelly Russell to this day is one of the best directors, and I still think about him, is one of the best directors I've ever worked with in my life. One of the most inspirational people I've ever met. And Miss Watts, Norma Watts, did the technical directing, and my brother was a sophomore doing the play. And I remember being 13 years old. I hadn't really done much theater, and I would go up to the Sarah Bernhardt Theater and watch Jet work. And I watched I watched several of their final rehearsals, and then I saw the show I think 12 times. And I remember as a kid, it never got old. Seeing my brother do this play, I'd travel with him because my mom was going. So there's an example of her putting her life on hold. Mm-hmm. She'd travel with Jet everywhere that they went to because she wanted to see the plays and help out in any way she could. So costumes or this and that. And I remember seeing the play several times, and I don't know why, but I feel like I was a part of that show because it was one of the more important parts of my love of theater. That show.
Do you remember prior to that a spark or a seed being planted, or was that show that big in your life?
That show was it.
And so you weren't in one-act play, but you were in other theater experiences while you were in high school?
Yes, yeah, in junior high and high school.
Okay. So you left San Angelo and went to L.A.
Yes.
Give us a little bit. How many years ago was that?
8 years.
8 short or 8 long years?
Short and long. It depends. Like it feels short, and then if I think about it, it becomes extremely long.
Well, that's very true of a lot of things.
Yeah. If I start thinking about things and start remembering at what point I was doing this, I'll be like, man, that feels like forever ago.
So you give us an executive summary of leaving Central High School, and now you have had a leading role in this 13-week television series. An
executive summary is
you can pick and choose the details.
Quickly it's lots of poor times financially, and about 5,000 no's from auditions. Going to audition after audition after audition, driving my 1997 Mercury Cougar in Los Angeles for 4 years that didn't have air conditioning, and I couldn't afford to fix it, and driving to auditions and getting to auditions and having a sweaty back and being told no, and I lost 2 or 3 jobs because I have to go to auditions, or I booked a commercial and I can't be at work today. And I mean, it's just not easy. It's not easy by any means, but
All right, so how not many people in our society will stick to something that they want so badly. That why did you stick with it?
I think they do. I think people do. If you leave a person in a field without food for a few days, guarantee they'll find some way to find food. And acting is just my food. It's something that I do. Whenever I do, everything feels right. And I was telling this to my representation the other day, because I'm always busy. I'm always shooting and doing other things, or writing, or trying to find some way to keep myself busy between auditions. But I was talking to my representation the other day, because they get afraid that I do too many things. But in the last week and a half, they've given me 4 auditions and several meetings with casting directors. And no matter how busy my day was when I woke up that day thinking, man, I'll never have time to get all this done and all this done, the second I get an audition, nothing is important anymore. Nothing's important. That's it. That's all I want. That's all I want to do. So.
But I don't know that many people, I wish more were, are so passionate about something that they will keep trying so hard until they achieve. Is this 13-week show the pinnacle of your career to this point?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that has already been totally filmed, so even though it's not finished showing,
yes,
it's over. Now what are you into? You said you just auditioned. What type of things are you auditioning for?
Well, because of the show, I don't have to have a job. I had a regular job while I was auditioning. Now I don't have a job, so my whole day now is spent either working and shooting and writing and developing projects that I want to make, and little indie projects that I want to make. And then when I audition, my management and agency are now getting me auditions for, I go on about the same number of auditions, but they're bigger auditions. Like now when I go to an audition, I see people's faces where I'm like, man, I know your work. I've seen your work several times throughout my life, So it's like auditions for bigger things, whether it's a 3-part recurring character on House, MD, or a lead in a new film, with, Kate Hudson or these several people. So.
Are you able now to be a little more choosy of the kind of role that might be your favorite?
The reason I do projects on my own is because I want a little bit more control over my career, because I don't necessarily want to do a Kate Hudson film. Now, it's huge for your career. If you book that project, then any producer that you walk into a room with, and they see they see that on your resume, they think, oh, great, I'm a lot more relaxed. I feel comfortable hiring this guy. They don't always know whether or not you're doing a good job. A producer can't always tell if an actor is a great actor, if that can make sense. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, making those right career moves are important, but in all honesty, I don't watch Kate Hudson films. I have no interest in telling, I feel like I'm nailing Kate Hudson here. I like Kate Hudson. But, I have no interest in doing, some of these movies that aren't that interesting, although I have to admit I saw Twilight recently and I actually kind of liked it. If that's kind of surprising to me. I didn't expect to like that. But the reason I do other projects is because I want to have a little bit more control over that kind of thing, and I feel like if I just start doing my own things and writing my own things and shooting my own things with 5, 6, 7, 10 years from now, then I can really start, I'll kind of have I'll be able to hone in on that storytelling ability even a little bit better than when I just acted. And now not only from an actor standpoint can I think as a director and a writer, but you can at least know all realms of telling a story.
You mentioned earlier that one of the best teachers you had at Central High School impacted you because of writing. You're talking about now, I'm not sure many people would have predicted that you spend time writing.
Yes.
So talk about that a little bit.
How I got into writing.
Yes.
Well, funny enough, my brother and I are both writers. My brother, Jet Thomason, has written 3 or 4 scripts and just finished writing a book on a musical theater actor and surviving in New York City, and he just finished a documentary that we shot. And we both had the same English teacher in high school, Miss Morgan. And Miss Morgan would do something, and I've talked to my girlfriend about this several times. She has you do this creative writing thing where you go into her class, and for 45 minutes you're supposed to write 5 pages, whether it's free thinking or this and that. I remember there was a certain formula that you would want to kind of put your thoughts into these different pages and have it into a well-told, have it be a well-told essay from beginning to end with your points and this and that. And at first it's so hard. And
it is hard.
It's impossible. It feels impossible. Like, you get to the end of page 1 and you're like, I'm done. I said all I wanted to say. And then, oddly, within 2 months, 45 minutes goes by like that. You're done with 5 pages before you know it, and you could have written 10 or 20. And I think that was a monumental skill to develop.
Well, I see over the 30 years that I've watched good teachers help young people become good writers. And those young people who will stick with that hard task of becoming a good writer, no matter what profession they go into, they have a heads up over others, maybe of equal intelligence or work ethic, because they can write well.
Yeah.
And I'm pleased to know, and I know young people who are watching this will go, oh, but writings take so much time, and sometimes I don't feel creative. Well, that's true. We're not necessarily creative every single day. And I wrote textbooks for Houghton Mifflin for a number of years, back in another life. And there were days I would sit down in the computer and know I had a deadline. I did it by chapters, and I had to have a deadline to do it in overnight mail to Boston. And I would sit there and go, it isn't coming to me today.
Yeah.
But you know that it will, that's not going to be like that all the time.
And you mentioned a deadline, and one of the more important skills that I think I've ever developed in my life is meeting a deadline.
Yeah.
Is because no matter what, like sitting at your desk and you're like, it's not coming to me, for whatever reason, which we all have those moments, I don't miss a deadline.
Yeah.
I won't miss a deadline. And that's comforting in those moments where I can't feel creative, or I'm not hitting this, or I've got a call today for an audition tomorrow, and I'm reading the material and I'm not quite feeling it. I mean, Harper's Island, when I booked Harper's Island, I got that material 30 minutes before I had the audition. That was the shortest time I've ever had to go in for an audition. And I mean, fact of the matter is, okay, now your deadline's not 2 days, it's 30 minutes. And regardless of anything, you don't miss a deadline, and that was a cool skill to develop, because you get there and you read the material and you get there fast. You get your deadline, No matter what, you at least finish it. You finish the project on time.
So have you done live stage?
Yeah. Well, I mean, all theater that I did is, theater is live, and I miss it.
Yeah.
It's like a 2-hour adrenaline rush.
So you would like perhaps to do a little bit of that
Forever,
at some time?
Forever and always, and I hope I don't, I haven't been able to do it lately, but theater in LA isn't quite, to tell you the truth, I miss theater in San Angelo a lot. There's a lot of good actors in San Angelo. What
about, you mentioned that your bread and butter that kept you alive for sometimes has been commercials.
Yeah, I did do a couple commercials. I shot a few commercials. They weren't really ever like my big thing. A lot of actors out there will make a lot of money off that, but yeah, I mean, I did guest stars in little small projects on TV shows, which are surprisingly extremely hard to book.
Wow.
I mean, it's a saturated industry, and I think, as you know, and anyone should know, probably knows in this world, is more often than not, you're competing with way more people than you ever want to for whatever it is you want to do. So what, in your next stage of your life after this TV, what would you hope, if you could have your dream, that you would be able have the opportunity to do? Well, right now I've got a company that I run with my buddy Shane Bailey, who's from San Angelo as well, who stays with me out in LA. He went to New York and shot the documentary with my brother. We have a production company called Protoculture Productions, and basically what we do is we shoot we're shooting little projects here and there, and right now we're out in San Angelo to shoot a few projects for the next 7 days. We're shooting some projects, and we're trying to make a car wreck happen, which is a CG car wreck. So we're doing things.
CG.
A computer generated car wreck.
Okay.
A computer generated car wreck, which is we didn't go to school for, but it's more like a puzzle and a riddle. You get your equipment, you get your software, and we shoot it, and we figure out how to make a car wreck happen. And we're doing that in San Angelo right now. We shot a few tests in LA, and now we're here shooting that, and that's kind of what we're doing. I want to, in the next 10, 15 years, be making films nonstop, producing, writing, directing, meeting young talent, reading scripts that they're writing, helping develop young talent, helping develop the future filmmakers, and in all honesty, I want to do it in Austin, Texas. I think.
Well, that's my city.
Yeah, that's my city. So you're gonna have to fight me.
We'll share.
Absolutely, we'll share.
Well, it sounds to me, but I don't want to put words in your mouth, that you're not only building a career and wanting to enjoy your career, but you're also wanting to invest in some young talent. So investing in others?
I mean, basically what I think it's boiled down to for me is what I've always loved about acting that I didn't really quite know. Like you find people do something and they don't always know why they do it. Someone draws, they don't know they're an artist as a child. They just like to draw. And sooner or later they realize, oh, I'm an artist, I like to do sketches. Or, oh, I'm an artist, I like oil paints. I found out I'm an actor, but what's drawn me to acting is storytelling. And that's it. It's just storytelling. And no matter what I do in life, it's going to be centered around, in some way or another, developing and doing stories. Whether it's seeing someone tell their story and helping that happen, or I'm telling someone else's story, which is like what an actor what I feel like when I'm an actor, or I write a story, and I direct a story, or I act in a story, or I'm producing a story. So no matter what, everything I probably will end up doing somewhere around my life is going to be centered around mostly storytelling.
Well, you talked about documentary, and now you're talking about storytelling. Is that a lean toward nonfiction?
No. Well, I mean, musical theater actors in New York, it may be truth, but it seems fiction.
Okay.
But regardless of, the documentary was something my brother wanted to do.
Okay.
And he's also becoming an amazing storyteller. And I want to help that, that's my brother, so
y'all are close.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it is wonderful, but when you've got a storytelling brother who writes 120-page scripts, and then you give him a few corrections, and then he rewrites it to 110 pages, and you have to reread that 110 pages so you can talk about those few little differences he made, and sometimes you end up reading a script 9 times. It's not so wonderful. But
just briefly not wonderful.
It's briefly not wonderful. But what is amazing is the other day talking to him, and I mean, I don't know why I hadn't told him this, but I was telling him, and I saw a trailer of the documentary. It's pretty much done, and I told him, I was like, man, I'm so impressed with your work, Jet. I was like, and I was just talking to him as a friend. I was like, I'm so impressed with what you've done, and he literally was just, thank you, man. That makes me feel so wonderful. Today was not the best day, CJ, and I was afraid you weren't going to say that. He was like, that feels great, man. So that was cool. Yeah.
That you paused long enough to say that, and what a huge deal that little pause meant to him.
Yeah, I mean, I guess as an artist, we're all a little, it's an impulsive, being an artist is feeling your impulses, learning to express them, whether it's on a canvas or on a stage, or even an artist can be a doctor or a teacher, or an artist when you see an artist, and it's learning to feel that impulse and express it and use it properly, and we all get caught up in that, but you become so vulnerable when you do that, and I know I'm like that, but I don't see other people that way, and I see my brother as a strong, unemotional, very, very confident man, but in actuality, I guess, he's like me.
Yeah.
He was very afraid that what he was doing was not right at all. And when I told him that, and my father told him that, and my mom told him that, it was like, he feels great now. He's so proud of it,
Well, it tells us a lot about you, CJ, a lot of maturity. I'm no good at age, about your age, and that's irrelevant, but for a young person to be able to articulate, first off, the road that you went, and know that you didn't do that by yourself. You had outside people, teachers, for example. You had a family who was so incredibly supportive of you. You just didn't do that by yourself, but you articulate that, and that is a sign of maturity. And many artists, and I think I have, fine arts is a critical component of my life.
I sense that.
You do? You sense that, do you? And I think that there is, it's very important for us to stay grounded, to know when a person like your brother needs that from us, that we're not so driven. Are you driven?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, it's not so much I take the word driven as I'm driven to not do nothing. I mean, I'm driven to... Well,
you've already said you don't miss deadlines.
Yeah, exactly. I'm driven to get things done, and I'm driven to, I dream, and I dream big, and I'm always, sometimes I get caught up in the artist cycle where you're so driven to do so many things you don't get anything done.
Yep.
And while I am driven, I've got to always make sure that I'm maintaining, and finishing these things that I'm doing. So I like to call myself driven, but until I get something done, I don't consider it real drive, So there's a few things on my plate right now that I want to get done. That's why I'm here in San Angelo, to get this project done, this little thing I want to shoot out here, and once that's done, I'll be very, I'll be happy with what I'm doing right now. So.
Well, you have inspired a lot of people, including myself. I would have loved to have been around to have watched you go through your junior high and high school years. We've chatted a little bit about other young people, the UT baseball pitcher that I was privileged to have in my school district, and watch Taylor grow into the young man, to have the poise to pitch a complete game and beat LSU a few days ago. I love watching the development of people, and you've packed a lot into a young life. So we're going to enjoy like crazy watching what you're going to pack in to this next stage post Harper's Island.
Nice. Nice.
Yes.
Well done. Cheers.
Yes, we're going to watch now.
Okay.
The next phase of your life.
Very cool.
Thank you so much
for
coming.
Real quick, can I say something? I don't even know if Daniel Wheeler is still a teacher here. Mr. Wheeler, he was a teacher of mine in 6th grade. And Mr. Wheeler one day came to me, and I don't know why, but he came to me outside of a class and said, "CJ, are you learning anything?" And I said no. And I, to this day, do not know why I said that. I think about his class quite often. He was an awesome teacher, and I want to throw it out there that Mr. Wheeler, if you're listening, or if anyone knows Mr. Wheeler, please tell him CJ Thomason did not mean to say no. He meant to say yes.
Oh, we'll make sure Mr. Wheeler knows that.
And to thank Debbie Stennett for our theater experiences. That was an amazing little theater at Junglin Junior High. And then Mr. Burnett for being there for me whenever theater wasn't there. When I wasn't really doing very much theater in my senior year at Central High School, Mr. Burnett was doing Cat TV at Central High School, which gave me the birth for picking up a camera and using that to express myself. And thank you, Mr. Burnett, for that. So
wow.
I just wanted to say that out there.
We like you.
Cheers.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much.